Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another day. I'm here with my middle child, Mac. Mac, can you say hi?
Hi.
And Mac, he's probably the opposite of a problem child. Out of our three, probably the most easily compliant of our kids. And now the Apostle Paul, from what we know, he didn't have any children, at least that we know about, but he talked about the churches that he ministered to sometimes like they were his children. And we're going to talk about his relationship with the Corinthian church as we start 1 Corinthians today. And I mean, they were the problem child church. All kinds of drama, all kinds of problems. And we're going to get into that and talk about that more today on Revival from the Bible. Well, today we are going to start looking at the book of 1 Corinthians, and we're going to be in 1st and then 2nd Corinthians for a while. And you need to, so it's good for us today to try to get some context. What are these letters all about, right? And then the easiest way I can think to summarize it is problems, right? That this was a church where there were all kinds of problems, and Paul starts writing and starts addressing all of these problems. And one thing we're going to see even a lot throughout these letters, it's going to be a lesson on love, right? That's probably the most famous chapter in these two books, 1 Corinthians 13 on love. But what we're going to see is a lot of love from the Apostle Paul, showing the love of Christ to this church that really was causing a lot of trouble and causing a lot of problems. You or I might have been tempted to lose patience with this church and say, I'm out of this church, I'm finding a different one, or I'm stopped serving this church, I'm going to go somewhere else. But Paul continues to love them and continues to point them towards Christ. So we're going to be here for a while, and you're going to see Paul bringing up different issues and giving them counsel. And then in the second letter, he's going to even come back to some of the same issues, and we're going to see a lot about his relationship with this church. Where it starts, though, is the first issue he brings up is divisions. He says that there is quarreling and that there is divisions, and that some are saying, I follow Paul. Others are saying, I follow Apollos, or I follow Cephas, right? And all of these things. And he's saying, no, that's not what it's about. It shouldn't be about these human divisions. It shouldn't be about rivalry and dissension within a church. It should be about Christ. Christ should not be divided in that way, right? And that's a problem that didn't stop in the church of Corinth. And that's why it's so great that these letters are in the Bible, because a lot of these problems were not unique to this church. How many churches today do we see where there's divisions, where people start to, well, I follow this person, or I follow this person. It could be someone within the church, or, oh, I follow this parenting program, or, oh, I think that this book is better, or I like this preacher, but no, I don't think he's good. I like this one. And we can start to divide over these things when none of those are the most important thing, which is following Christ. And even in the midst of all we're going through right now, there's going to be even more issues that could divide, people within the church. Well, I think this whole coronavirus thing is overblown. Well, I think everybody's not taking it seriously enough, or whatever it might be. And as Christians, we always need to be concerned that there are divisions coming up within the body of Christ that are going to take our focus from where it should be and make our churches less than they should be. So that's a very important lesson as we're kicking off 1 Corinthians, but we're going to see a lot of lessons going through these books about what it really means to be a strong church as Paul addresses the problems within this church. Now, one other book that we're starting today is the book of Ruth. Kind of a familiar story, but I want you to see the redemption that's in this story, right? And even just understand Ruth was a Moabite. I've come from a country that was not supposed to be accepted, not supposed to be part of the promised land. But God brings her in, not just to the people of Israel, but really to the line of the Messiah, we're going to see. We're going to see a merciful God bringing in the outcast, a widowed Moabite woman, and making her a part of the line of the Messiah. Well, what a great God that we serve. I want to just close today with with just one verse from our Psalm 56. We read the first 7 verses today, and verse 3 says, "When I am afraid, I put my trust in you. In God, whose word I praise, in God I trust, I shall not be afraid. What can flesh do to me?" Remember, we talked about yesterday, casting your burdens unto the Lord. I'd encourage you, what were those burdens? Did you pray about them yesterday? Here's another opportunity to pray about them today. When I am afraid, I put my trust in you. So I'm looking forward to reading through 1st and 2nd Corinthians with you, and we'll see you again tomorrow on Revival from the Bible.